third in the Me Before You series, the final one, and it's about what happens when Louisa finally takes a huge leap and moves to New York to work for a new family, leaving behind Ambulance Sam, who she struck up a relationship with in After You, the second book. And to say things never go quite as Louisa plans would be an understatement, and she's really pushed by circumstances and by a whole new cast of characters to work out who Louisa Clark really is and what she actually wants. I love writing her. I mean, the hardest thing is saying that this is it, because for me the hardest part about writing a book is to work out a character. To me, that's the absolute crux of making any book work, is creating believable three-dimensional characters that are compelling enough to take a reader with them. And Louisa, I know so well that it's like having an alter ego. So slipping back into her, meeting her family again, putting her in new situations and having her react to them, it's an absolute pleasure to write. It's very hard to say goodbye. Yes, I did feel a huge amount of pressure writing this book, because knowing that it was the final book, it was really important to me that I got it right for her, you know, that this is going to be the book that ends that story. It was really important to me to send out the right message, and as a result it took me a year of thinking before I even started writing this book. Once I actually started writing it, it didn't take too long at all, it took just under a year, but I did a year of thinking and, you know, throwing different scenarios at her and just trying to work out where I wanted her to finish. I do, and in fact I've done something that I've done a couple of times with this book in other books, which is that I've recycled a character that I felt I'd hard done by in a previous story. Margot DeWitt, who is a key character in this book, she's a neighbour of the family who Lou goes to work for, and she's an Iris Apfel kind of character. She's small, elderly, fiercely stylish and utterly uncompromising. She's, you know, I love these fearless old ladies who absolutely say what they think at all times. And I'd actually written her into a short story called Margot a couple of years ago, and every now and then you write a character and you think, God, I wish I could do more with that character, because I only had like 1,500 words. And I always held on to her, and so she's actually a key character in this book. And I love her because she's the kind of character I want to be when I'm 75 and obviously living in an amazing apartment on Fifth Avenue, being fearless, yeah, and stylish, yeah. I think really hard about how I represent women in my books, and one of the reasons I thought for so long before I started writing this book was it was really important to me to put Louisa in a place at the end of the book, without giving too much away, where I didn't suggest that finding a man is the answer to everything. What is really important for Louisa, like most people, is actually to work out what makes her happy and what's going to make her feel fulfilled and useful, and those are the things that actually bring you contentment, and the man might be the icing on the cake. So this is a lesson that Louisa is kind of figuring out the whole way through this book. It was an extraordinary period of my life. I mean, firstly, I never expected to be involved with a film. You know, as a novelist, if you're lucky, you sell the rights to a few books, and mostly nothing ever happens because it's, you know, it's like a lottery ticket. Your chances against that thing being made are pretty enormous. And with Me Before You, everything happened very fast. And then the fact that they asked me to write the script was extraordinary. So I was on a very steep learning curve for about 2 years in terms of working out how to do that, because obviously it's a specialised skill. And then being on set with the actors it was one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life. I absolutely loved it. I mean, it's exhausting. You do kind of 20-hour days sometimes, and things are stressful and things don't always go right. But for the most part, 99% of it, I absolutely loved it. It was, yeah, it was joyous, and I made friends that I've still got, and I would do it again in a heartbeat. I think I was lucky because I was given such a voice in the making of the film. I didn't have that thing that I think a lot of writers get, where they feel that they've been misrepresented or that their characters are now not theirs anymore. But still, the first day that I arrived on set and saw Will Traynor walking through a rainstorm you know, with a phone pressed to his ear and a kind of Hugo Boss suit on or whatever, and hair that somebody else had designed and a voice that somebody else had coached. And it was extraordinary because you think, up until that point, you've been the absolute expert on your character, and suddenly you realise there's a whole industry of people entirely devoted to making sure that he comes alive. That was, I still remember that exact moment like it was yesterday. We certainly haven't ruled it out. I think it's a logistical problem at the moment. I didn't have time to write the script. Amelia's doing Game of Thrones, Thea's doing other projects. I think the last time I spoke to them about it, we've all kind of agreed that if we could, we would. Certainly nobody's ruling it out, but it's just timing. You know, everyone's got busy, complicated lives.